At the risk of sounding incredibly pretentious or just plain silly, I would argue that there are movies and there are films, and there are movie directors, and then there are auteurs, artists who have little to no interest at all in telling stories that are not completely their own, directors whose films you can tell have just been so delicately molded by their ideas, their musings, their whims, or simply even just their flights of fancy, writers who have no interest at all in following our Hollywood 3x structure or holding the audience's hand or serving up some easy-to-ingest fast food film. And Paul Thomas Anderson is one such auteur, and Phantom Thread one such film. In a lot of ways, I feel rather inadequate attempting to assess it now and find the brief review format of The Heartbeat to be a bit of a disservice to such a complicated, layered, and nuanced cinematic experience. As such, I think the best that I can do is simply tell you what I saw and how I feel that this film's narrative, visuals, and thematic ideas really did give us this very personal and poignant look into its maker's heart and mind. In this film, we found a child, played brilliantly by Daniel Day-Lewis, an insecure, moody, often petulant individual enslaved to his emotions and held captive by his need for the world to be a certain way, and the mannequins in it to behave a certain way. From his very first interaction with Alma, we were able to see that while she was falling in love with a man, he was falling in love with an idea. An idea that could, when he desired, serve as a muse, an inspiration, a lover, a mother, a mannequin, or a ghost. And for a good portion of the film, we saw this man using that woman in this way with little to no remorse. This is the way that it was, and this is the way that it would always be. The end. This man had been infantilized by this inescapable longing to rediscover a mother's love from everything and everyone around him. A love that told him that he was the most important thing in the universe, and nothing else really mattered. What the film then did quite brilliantly earlier on, when this was the estranging attitude of the main character, was allow us, the audience, to be okay with being estranged to him, by often displaying that behavior through the eyes of Alma, someone who was just as bewildered, confused, and hurt by his actions as we were, while at the same time still being drawn to him. In a poorly written film, there will often come this moment about 3/4 of the way in where I will glance down at my watch and wonder, where is this film going? And oftentimes that's just due to a poorly told story or a poorly structured screenplay. Here, however, when I found myself asking that same question around the same time in the film, it didn't make this film less, but more. Because in that moment, I realized I had been attempting to box this story and these characters in, foolishly attempting to categorize them as I just have, unintentionally determining that this was surely where the story was going and that this is definitely all that these characters are. So it was an absolute pleasure when I was reminded yet again that P.T. Anderson really is completely disinterested in making something that is easy, safe, or quickly categorizable. Instead, especially with Phantom Thread, he is far more interested in exploring the truth that people are idiosyncratic, their emotions fickle, and behaviors surprising. And even those that seem to be nothing more than a pendulum swinging from one predictable longing to another and then back again, can continue to grow and evolve. And also, almost more surprisingly, even those that seem like nothing more than a lovesick child willingly pushed around to please the one that they adore, can change into something quite resilient, defiant, and strong. Having seen the astoundingly beautiful cinematography in P.T. Anderson's The Master, I did find that the visuals in The Phantom Thread were comparatively simple and understated. Nonetheless, what this did for me was allow the larger-than-life existence of a world-famous fashion designer and an extremely unique romance to feel more grounded, relatable, and even empathetic. I've always loved, too, what Mr. Anderson does with his musical scores, unashamedly bringing that element of his films forward, really using it to drive the emotion, pace, and rhythm in a much more overt way, and Phantom Thread's score was no exception. I thought, too, that the sound design work on this film was outstanding, really bringing us into Mr. Woodcock's point of view and enabling us to more fully perceive the world as he did. And for all these reasons, I will give the film a 4.5 out of 5 and a heart. I would still love to know what you guys thought of the film, though, so definitely comment below and let me know. I am also curious, what is your favorite Paul Thomas Anderson film? I think for me, it's probably an even toss-up between Punch Drunk Love and Magnolia. Finally, please do subscribe. I'm going to continue to review films and television on this channel, and I would love for you to stay up to date on all of those things. But for now, I'm Chris Hartwell. This is The Heartbeat. Thank you for joining me.